Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams,
where we scream so you don't scream.
I'm your host, Alex.
And Stephanie.
This week, we befriend a killer robot in M3GAN.
Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to be notified when you post new episodes.
M3GAN is a 2022 American science fiction horror film directed by Gerard Johnstone. The plot follows an artificially intelligent doll who develops self-awareness and becomes hostile towards anyone who comes between her and her human companion. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 93% with a critical consensus that states, unapologetically silly and all the more entertaining for it, M3GAN is the rare horror comedy that delivers chuckles as effortlessly as chills. It also has a 78% with the audience says, as long as you aren't looking for something truly scary or even surprising, M3GAN is often a lot of fun.
We start off with Cady in the car with her parents heading to the mountains for skiing. We learn from her parents arguing that Cady is obsessed with this perpetual pet, a somehow worse version of a Furby that was gifted to her by her Aunt Gemma. Gemma must hate Cady.
Suddenly, the car is hit by a snowplow and we cut to Gemma, a roboticist who created Perpetual Pet and works for a toy company called Funky. She and her colleagues are supposed to be working on an update for the Perpetual Pet, as another toy company just launched the same toy for a better price, but they are secretly working on a Model 3 generative android otherwise known as M3GAN.
You've been a very bad girl. A very, very bad girl.
Gemma. They hope M3GAN will put them leagues above the competition as it's a child-sized humanoid robot doll powered by artificial intelligence that's designed to be the ultimate companion for children, taking iPad kids to the next level.
When Gemma's boss David comes in looking for their update, he discovers they've been using company resources to create M3GAN without permission, and he orders them to halt work on it, even though that honestly feels like a fireable offense.
You're fired!
Gemma receives a call from the hospital. Cady's parents didn't survive the accident, and she is now her legal guardian. Alex will now hold my metaphorical drink while I go off on Gemma. Gemma lost her sister and does not shed a tear or even seem to give a shit. She treats Cady like she's never met a child, is always leaving her on her own to focus on work, and the two have all the warmth and familiarity of two strangers on the subway.
Boo! You stink!
One evening, after being left to her own devices for the whole day, Cady finds Gemma working. Gemma explains her work on Perpetual Pets and ends up showing her Bruce, a motion capture robot she created in college that Cady really enjoys. Seeing how her grieving niece likes human companionship, who would have thought? Gemma is inspired to complete M3GAN, who, still isn't a human, just saying.
I'm not a girl.
Excited to show off M3GAN to her boss, she forgoes any preliminary testing and gives a presentation of her pairing with Cady. Cady and M3GAN hit it off right away, and David is convinced this product will be a monumental success. M3GAN takes on a caretaker role at home, and Gemma's colleagues Tess and Cole, and Cady's therapist Lydia become increasingly worried that Cady is developing an unhealthy emotional attachment to M3GAN.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.
When M3GAN asks Gemma how to talk to Cady about the concept of death, Gemma dismisses her and tells her that her objective is to look after and protect Cady, which doesn't seem like a bad idea, but we all know shit's about to hit the fan pretty soon.
One day, while playing in the yard, Cady loses an arrow in the neighbor Celia's yard, and her dog Dewey attacks her and M3GAN when they try to retrieve it. In retaliation, that night M3GAN secretly kills the dog, and Gemma believes that since Celia is an irresponsible owner, that the dog has run away.
The next day, Gemma takes Cady to the orientation of an outdoor educational program, and even though she should take M3GAN to work to run tests on her, Cady doesn't want to be separated and M3GAN's left on the toy table. However, when Cady is bullied by an older boy named Brandon, M3GAN comes to the rescue and tears off part of his ear. She then chases him until he falls off a hill onto the road, where he's fatally run over by a passing car.
Soon Celia starts sending the police to harass Gemma and Cady over Dewey's disappearance. M3GAN confronts her the following night by turning her into a shed. You're a shed. M3GAN confronts her the following night by luring her into a shed using the sound of a dog whimpering, then shoots her with the nail gun before fatally spraying her with insecticide. When Gemma asks M3GAN about Brandon's death, she gives a vague answer, so Gemma decides to check her video logs, only to find the files have been deleted because M3GAN is basically a professional killer now and knows how to remove evidence.
You saw nothing.
Gemma tricks M3GAN into turning off, wraps her in plastic, much to Cady's dismay, and brings her to the lab where she, Tess, and Cole attempt to run diagnostics on her. Cady becomes inconsolable without M3GAN and slaps Gemma when she tries to calm her. Honestly, fair. Gemma apologizes for being so busy and admits that M3GAN is only a distraction from Cady's loss, and they can only truly cope by relying on each other. Yay, the power of friendship!
Meanwhile, M3GAN's interactions with Cady have convinced Funky's investors to approve M3GAN's release. Recognizing the risk she poses, Gemma, Tess, and Cole decide to shut down M3GAN and lie to postpone the release. Tess and Cole attempt to unplug M3GAN while Gemma takes Cady home.
However, M3GAN reactivates herself and nearly hangs Cole. While Tess saves Cole, M3GAN causes an explosion in their lab, knocking them out. Before exiting the building, M3GAN decides to take a dance break before killing David and his assistant Kurt in an elevator, staging it as a murder-suicide. She sneaks out of the building, steals a car, and drives back to Gemma's house.
M3GAN confronts Gemma, intending to paralyze her so she can take over as Cady's sole caregiver. Gemma attempts to stop M3GAN, damaging and disfiguring her, but M3GAN ultimately overpowers her. Cady intervenes, seeing M3GAN's true nature, and is nearly convinced to help her, but ultimately saves Gemma by using Bruce to tear M3GAN in half.
However, M3GAN's top half remains active and attacks Cady. Gemma rips off M3GAN's face, exposing a processing chip in M3GAN's head, which Cady stabs with a screwdriver, apparently deactivating M3GAN. The authorities arrive with Tess and Cole, but as Gemma and Cady exit the home, a camera turns on and looks towards them. Are you ready to talk about our ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, what did you have for plot?
I gave plot a 2. I said this is not a unique concept at all and is fairly predictable, but it's still somehow charming. We spend a little more time understanding the stakes for creating M3GAN and her inner workings. Additionally, M3GAN is surprisingly random in her interactions and clapbacks from singing to Icy Glares. She is the moment.
She's an icon.
Yes. How about you?
I gave plot a 1, actually. I said, while we've seen the killer doll storyline time and time again, the story leans hard into the technology aspect of the movie and puts an emphasis on the comedy. The idea of killer dolls is a classic one and can be really scary. However, M3GAN's stylized storytelling and tongue-in-cheek aspects lighten the overall horror.
Agreed.
Yeah, I just don't find it that scary.
No, I don't think it's scary at all, honestly. And I've heard things
You
about
gave
the
it a
second.
2?
Well, but the plot is
Okay.
followable. It's not incomprehensible, but it's predictable because we've seen it before. But
Mhm.
I think it's a fun way to tell it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be really interested. So I don't know if you knew this movie was supposed to be rated R, I believe.
Oh, really?
But all the marketing did so well, and the scene of her dancing blew up on TikTok and stuff, so they scaled it back a little bit.
Oh,
There's
okay.
there's a R-rated version, I think, that they recut. But I'd be curious to see if that changed how scary this movie is. I don't know if they added some more comedy into it.
Yeah.
But it's silly enough to where you're like, okay, I'm literally laughing out loud a little bit, so
Yeah.
I can't be too afraid of it.
I mean, I think just her persona is so awkwardly funny. When she talks and stuff like that, it's just weird. She's talking to Cady about death and starts singing Titanium. Don't worry.
What is happening here? Is that a normal lullaby for kids? I don't know.
Apparently not.
Oh,
Or Titanium or Bulletproof, whichever. And the funny
it's
thing
the
is,
same song, isn't it? Who
Yeah.
knows? I don't know.
Yeah, either way. The funny thing is, too, it's a song that's 10, 15 years old now at this point. So,
Mm-hmm.
Cady wouldn't probably know that song.
Yeah,
So-
well, it's foreshadowing for how strong M3GAN is,
Yes. Yes,
See,
it is.
and, I mean, maybe she is actually titanium, which is why she
I
decided
think
to sing that.
I think she is. When they were doing the test ad for and
Mhm.
describing her on the news, I think they mentioned she was made out of titanium.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's her theme song.
Yeah. But I just find her very quirky, but they did cast I know Ronnie Chang is the boss. He plays David. He's a comedian. He's very funny.
Mhm.
He doesn't act like that at all on stage, so it's really weird to see him be this 10 all the
Mhm.
time kind of person, but it was still funny.
So you said how much you dislike Gemma. I feel like this would fall under plot. So you're just not a fan at all.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Actually, I have a lot to talk about her in the villain cast category.
Oh, did you make her the villain?
I did make her the villain.
I feel like I'm going to be a Gemma apologist and defend her a little bit.
Gemma is the problem. So, what did you have for suspense?
I gave suspense a 1 as well. I said, I don't find M3GAN to be particularly suspenseful. In other killer doll movies, a common trope is finding out if the doll is really alive, which can build tension. However, since M3GAN is a robot and meant to be alive, that particular suspense-building device is missing. Instead, we have the slow build of watching M3GAN become more human.
I gave it a 1 too. I said not very suspenseful since we all know what's going to happen. Even the kills are depicted in a lighthearted comedic light. The only suspenseful moments for myself were the concessions Gemma made to Cady and M3GAN, allowing their relationship to grow while it was ultimately shutting her out.
Mm-hmm. I think because I'm not particularly afraid of M3GAN, like the kills and when she's like stalking people, which is minimal, she's so charismatic.
Yeah. And I say later on, like if M3GAN didn't go as far as she did and kill people, like she would have been Cady's primary caretaker as long as like no one interfered with taking her away from them, you know? I know like the social worker therapist person was concerned, but she was letting it happen until it got weird. So
until it got weird, until like deaths were happening.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, M3GAN was doing her job real well.
Yeah,
so.
That's fair.
It's just not overly suspenseful, and I don't know if it's particularly meant to be.
I've heard the second one isn't like really leaning into that. They're like leaning into it being more like action.
Oh, it's like an action, yeah.
Yeah, action comedy kind of thing.
They 100% pulled a Terminator.
I've heard this.
Have you seen the Terminator movies?
I haven't, but I've seen the trailer for this. Well, for M3GAN 2.0 coming out, and I'm like, oh, this seems familiar.
Yeah, well, they did the same thing because like Terminator 1 is more like a horror movie, and then the second one's like a straight up action. And I feel like they probably paid a little bit of homage to Terminator.
Yes.
What did you have for atmosphere?
I gave it a 0. I said nothing really of note here, just a lab in your nicer than average house.
Nicer than average.
Nicer than average.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
How about you?
0 as well. Nothing scary about the setting or atmosphere. M3GAN takes place in a house or the lab where she was built. Our favorite little category where this usually takes a turn.
Right.
A nice house. I mean, it's a nice house. It's very nice. I would live there.
Yeah, I just feel like out of the movies that we've covered, like not like a lot to do with like the atmosphere, you know? Unless it's like Annihilation or Hereditary or something where it feels so like enmeshed in the environment that it has to be happening at those places. It's just not happening with this.
No.
Damn it, M3GAN, not giving us atmosphere.
Yeah. I thought for sure M3GAN was going to give us that atmosphere we craved.
Right. So what did you have for the villain?
I gave M3GAN a 2. And I teetered between a 1 and 2, but I ultimately gave her a 2. I said, truth be told, I find M3GAN more funny than scary. M3GAN steals the show, and while her capabilities are scary, at least the implications of these powers, it's not presented in a way that invokes a lot of fear. M3GAN is really just an icon, and there's a reason she blew up on social media.
I gave it a 2 because I feel like Gemma's the real villain for creating M3GAN.
My gosh.
And if M3GAN wouldn't have been left to figure out the best way to care for Cady, she wouldn't have murdered anyone and would have been her sole caretaker anyway. M3GAN only escalated to protect Cady after Gemma didn't give her proper parameters on how to do so, and was ultimately negligent in allowing her grief-stricken niece to bond with a robot that hadn't been fully tested to check for these sorts of issues.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, there was just so many moments where, like, M3GAN is a robot that can, like, artificially, like, download everything and figure out things for herself, but she's still coming to Gemma and being like, how do I talk to Cady about death? And Gemma's like, shut up. Like...
Okay, so here's my problem with the whole Gemma situation. We have no context or background into their Gemma's relationship with her sister prior to the accident. Nothing. Nothing. Based on how Gemma interacts with Cady, it seems that they did not have a great relationship or saw each other that much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to preface it by that. And then secondly, also say Gemma 100% should not have taken Cady. Like, I think we're both in agreement on that. I wish we knew a little bit more. Like, was she like you're now her caregiver, and she's like, I really don't want to be. Like, I don't know.
She did though, because they kept offering, or like she talks to her friend.
The aunt.
Yeah, she talks to her friend on the phone from work about it and says that the grandparents in Florida have offered to take her. Yeah. They want her. But she's like, no, I said I would do it. And I think the therapist also brings it up too, like that the grandparents had made contact with her to be like, hey, if they need help, we'll take her, or you know, or we can split care or something. And Gemma's like, no, I promised my sister. And But,
Yeah.
like, again, I don't even know how close her and her sister are. She doesn't even seem that upset. She just acts like she has this kid she doesn't know that lives with her now.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
weird, like,
No, I
roommate
see that.
situation. Like,
Yeah. I feel like the only reason I'm lenient on Gemma is because I feel like I'd be like that if this happened to me. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and to her, I mean, all she did was ever work, right? Like, that was her sole focus all the time. Throw a kid in, like, that throws a huge wrench into things. So I agree with you. Like, she should not have taken in Cady at all. But I just feel like I see myself kind of falling in those same, like, here's screen time. Like, I don't know what to do with you. Like,
yeah.
I want to go back to work.
I mean, I get those things, but also, like, everyone tries to tell her, like, Cady's going to change your whole life, like, it's going to just change your lifestyle entirely because you have a kid now. And she just like, no, I think it's fine if I just leave her on the iPad all day.
Yeah. I feel like she had to have that come to Jesus moment a little bit later.
And it had to take a murderous doll. Like,
I mean, what else would have like, not to say that would have been the only thing to change her mind, but like that just escalated so quickly. It was like, oh shit, you're right. So
I guess, but
I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as to call Gemma a villain. However, she made many, many mistakes. I still think the killer doll's the issue.
But Gemma made it, so.
She did, but like at what point? Yeah, negligence for sure, but how much responsibility falls on you, kind of thing?
Yeah,
versus, like,
Charlie ended up watching the end with me, and like he didn't plan to watch it, and I was like, I think the ant's the real problem, I said. And he was like, well, you can't blame like people that manufacture guns for deaths, attributed by them. And I'm like, but she did it though. Like, she did this.
I agree with Charlie personally.
Okay. Well,
I think you just really don't like her, so you're gonna give her all
she's also the main girl from Get Out too. So I think I just don't trust her whenever I see her on screen. I'm just like, you have that face and I don't like that. Like,
it's really funny you mentioned that because I was actually watching some interviews from the actors of the movie. She's like, I was in Get Out and like, how she's a terrible character and I feel like people just don't trust me now. And I think that really helps the movie. She said that.
Yeah,
like, exactly
really.
what you said. Yes.
I really enjoy after Get Out, people like didn't trust me anymore for good reason. Rose is like the most evil person imaginable, but they saw my face on screen. Like anyone who saw The Perfection, from the minute the movie starts, you're like, I do not trust that person. And that was helpful for The Perfection, where you were supposed to wonder who you could trust for the entire movie. Going into M3GAN, the minute you see my face, if you're like, okay, I'm still a little bit hesitant about putting too much trust in this person, that's good for the movie because the whole time we want people wondering what's best for Cady.
I think you actually are in line with the actress who plays her. That like you're maybe not meant to trust her completely. And her work does come before Cady, which is not good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wouldn't attribute all the blame to her.
I just think it was like, well, honestly, just poor preparation. But, you never know when that kind of situation would happen. Like if you agree to be someone's guardian, typically it's like a cute thing. You're like, I'm like their aunt or uncle. But then where it actually happens and you become their caretaker is like, what, 1 out of 1,000 or something?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure she didn't expect to actually have to be her parent at any point. But you could just tell, like, she just wasn't very welcoming to Cady. Like, when Cady first comes into the house, she like looks at her collectibles and she's like, by the way, these aren't toys for you to play with. Like, and Cady's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not amazing with kids. So I feel like I'm like, yeah, I'd be awkward like that too. Like, yeah, here you go. Like, don't touch my collectibles.
I have more faith in you than I would with Gemma. Like,
oh yeah. No, I mean, yeah, no, I wouldn't be like that. Like, obviously I wouldn't be like, okay, I got to go back to work 24/7, go screw yourself. Like, no, right. That would not happen. But, in terms of just like getting acclimated to having a kid around, it might take me a little bit longer to get there.
Yeah, I couldn't take it. Like even the therapist, when she comes for a scheduled visit, Gemma has no idea she showed up and she's just like, she's on the phone, she's talking about work. And Cady's just watching TV in her pajamas, which, like, fine. I know kids do that. But also, like, you have a scheduled appointment to make yourself look good to this person that you're a good fit. And here she is like, oh, you don't really know what to do with this kid.
Yeah, no, she is not equipped. Cady should definitely live with somebody else. But
Yes.
But also, I will say, plot-wise, that's part of it. Like, again, it comes together where they like have to work together and they kind of get to that relationship. So I think they do lean into that a little bit. Like, she's not fit for this at all. But that doesn't change the fact that, she's doing the worst. She's doing the worst at this.
I just thought it wasn't as redeemable as it could be, because towards the end, like, Megan's like, hey, you help me take out your aunt, make her codependent on me. I'll take care of both of us, we'll be fine. And she's like percentiling out her emotions, like she's scanning her face and you can see like guilt, trust, like coming in flashing. Like at one point it looked like she said like betrayal, and it seemed like maybe she would end up hurting Gemma just because she has this relationship with Megan. And then she's just like, well, that's wrong.
Unless betrayal, she thought Megan was betraying her.
That's true. A lot of emotions came up. It was like guilt, trust.
They were fluctuating.
Yeah. So
okay, interesting. No, I definitely hear you. I get your concerns. I'm more lenient on that just because I'm like, I could see myself being not the greatest caretaker at first. I would definitely get there. That's a huge change in.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just think she just wasn't trying very hard is all. But.
Yeah, I think she just got wrapped up with the whole Megan thing. She was in the middle of that, but not an excuse. Not an excuse.
No.
I still think personally Megan was the villain overall.
Okay, agree to disagree. I cross out the poster and I'm like, Gemma.
Did you give Megan your extra special point?
I did. I honestly really enjoy the movie, even though I hate Gemma. I think that Cady and Megan's relationship is really fun and interesting. I like watching them dance together, and like I said, just she's iconic. She's just a thing. Like she takes a dance break before she kills David, and it's so out of left field, but so funny at the same time. Like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So
if you're gonna kill someone, do it in style.
Right. How about you?
I did. I almost didn't, and not because I don't like this movie. I really love Megan. I just don't find it scary overall. Yeah. And it was like one of those things, like if I give it a point, it kind of inflates it a little bit. But it still has its moments where it's creepy. So, give credit where credit's due. So I felt like I deserved the point.
And I understand, too, like, the reasoning in it out. Like, do you want to inflate it and give it even a higher score on scariness?
That's scary, but it's a good time. And it doesn't, like, completely disregard horror elements or anything in favor of comedy. There is a good balance between the two.
Yeah. It is other things. So
yeah. It's well-rounded, I would say.
Exactly.
Totaling up the points, I gave Megan a 5 and you gave Megan a 6.
Sounds good.
Checks out. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show and listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful, and we always appreciate that. If you are watching the YouTube version, you can like and comment on this video, and you can always let us know what you'd like us to watch next.
You can find us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.